O'Reilly Factor, the #1 cable news show for 15 years and counting.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in a personal story segment tonight. Earlier this week, there was some controversy at the Democratic convention when Democrats featured mothers of black Americans who had been killed by police or others.
I lived in fear that my son would die like this. I even warned him that because he was a young black man, he would meet people who didn't value him or his life. Hillary Clinton isn't afraid to say that Black lives matter.
Now, certainly grieving mothers have a right to speak at political conventions, but it was pointed out that the families of slain police officers in the USA did not get stage time. That is until tonight, when the Democrats will spotlight 4 families of fallen law enforcement officers. Joining us now from Philadelphia, Jumaane Williams, a New York City Council member. And on the phone from San Antonio, Texas, Dr. Rod Martinelli, author of the book, The Truth Behind the Black Lives Matter Movement and the War on Police. So, Mr. Williams, we begin with you. I'm not sure whether the outcry on Tuesday, when no police officer families were featured, drove the Democrats to put them on tonight. I'm not sure. We can't get a definition on that. But I'm going to ask you, is there a moral equivalency in both cases?
So there's a great mural in Brooklyn that I think is pretty poignant. It shows a young black and Latino young man, 2 of them, and an officer. And in between them it says, I just want to get home. I just want to make it home safely or something like that. And I think that says a lot of what people need to think about when all families go out. They just want them to come back. And the problem that we have is folks like me across America understand the humanity of an officer dying, and we mourn when that happens. But I get the feeling that people don't mourn when unarmed black men are dying in the same way, even to the point where you would call it controversial. It's not controversial that they're on the stage at all. No,
it was controversial because the others weren't. That was the only controversy there. But I don't know, when an unarmed, innocent black man is killed, I think most Americans feel terribly about that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I certainly do. Dr. Martinelli, you have been very critical of some of the people in the Black Lives Matter movement and how this whole thing has been presented to the American people. Just define that for us.
Well, sure. The Black Lives Matter movement has basically a 4-part program. And one is to disenfranchise the law enforcement from the public and diminish their stature from the public. Then they want to defund law enforcement policing programs. And then they want to basically dissolve law enforcement. And they do this primarily through the spreading of false narratives. And what was unfortunate about the mothers that were up there that we have referred to as the Black Lives Matter mothers, while it is in fact a tragedy when anyone is killed unexpectedly, it is the public needs to remember the factual and forensic reasons why those men died either in police custody or during a police encounter.
But when you have a video that's put out, Doctor, surely you understand. I mean, I'm thinking of the South Carolina one where the black youth was fleeing and the cop took his gun and shot him in the back. Now, that police officer is going to be convicted if he hasn't already. I'm not sure what the adjudication is, but he's guilty. But the emotion that African Americans feel when they see this kind of thing and then they connect it to their own lives, when perhaps they have been treated unfairly. So, Mr. Williams, I sympathize with African Americans who believe that they're singled out. I do. But there is a reason for it. It's not a vacuum. And the reason is the very high crime rate among young black men. And I don't think the Black Lives Matter movement ever discusses that in a honest way. Am I wrong?
Yes, you are. And it's funny because Mr. Martinelli's thinking and what's in his book has been, that kind of thinking has been throughout history, and it has actually been necessary in this country to continue the subjugation of people and blame them for their own subjugation and the things that come about it.
Well,
so
let me ask you a question.
I'm not surprised to hear his thinking.
All right, okay.
But in terms of Black Lives Matter,
you live in Brooklyn.
Sure.
You live in Brooklyn.
Yes, I do.
Okay. My grandfather used to be a police officer in Brooklyn. Do you believe
thank
that
you for
white
service.
police officers in Brooklyn and New York City get up in the morning and say, I want to terrorize black men?
So this is the problem. You're trying to
No, I'm just
conflate a
saying I
lot of
want to
things.
know what you think.
No, of course not. I mean, there are some
Okay.
people who are racist. I don't want to take that off the table.
Sure.
But I think fundamentally police officers wake up to do a good job and want to do a good job. The problem you're having here is the most poignant thing I heard was the police chief that said we're asking police officers to do too much. And so one is you can't take race off the table and bias that people have. But the second is you cannot continually neglect the community and then only send police in as a resource. Those communities have been starved of jobs, education, and
I get the
housing.
big picture on it,
So,
and then
but you
there
have to talk
certainly is
about that
valid
because the
stuff.
violence.
I want to
the
give
violence
Dr.
is rooted in
Martinelli.
that.
Let's give Dr. Martinelli the last word. 30 seconds, Doctor.
Bill, that is not a police problem. Okay, police can't solve everybody's problems. They respond to society's problems, and what we have found time and time again is when they respond to society's problems, they are met with resistance and
That's because
violence.
policing
and we have
should be
lost,
used as an
Mr. Williams,
acute.
if you'd let me finish, we have we have had a 78% increase in officers being murdered in the line of duty over the same
Mostly
time
by
this
white
year.
men.
By the end of the
Mostly by
year,
white men.
by the end of the
murdered
year,
mostly
that
by
is
white
absolutely
men.
incorrect.
That is not
wait. I got to stop you guys. I'm going to get that
Officers
stat.
at a rate of 9 times
All right.
the rate that police
Doctor?
kill black
Okay,
suspects.
I got it.
9
I'm going to
times.
get by the end of the program. I'm going to have the stat on this year, Mr. Williams, and the police officers who were killed, and we'll have the stat by the end of this
There's been an
program.
uptick this year. No, there's been an
I'm
uptick
just
this year.
I'm just going to give the stat.
Wait, there's been an uptick this year, but you should go several
you
years. Don't
said
just
that
use
it
this
was
uptick.
mostly by white
Wait, but
men.
I'm saying
We will
by
have the
white
stat.
people.
I got to
Yes,
go,
but
guys.
I'm saying,
I got to
go
go.
past.
All right, on deck. Some of the strange